Thank you for joining us on BBC News. They are just proposals at the moment, but do you think they'll help?
Sure, we'll wait to see the full details, of course, but we certainly welcome the focus on, as the Justice Secretary then said, preparing people for success on release. And it seems that there are some positive ideas in the mix in this white paper. However, these are quite a lot of things that we've seen before and that haven't necessarily been delivered on. And I think what's potentially still lacking is a much more ambitious long-term plan to really address some of the long-standing issues in our prison system and crucially ensure that people who are sent to prison have the right support to build a stable life upon release and become active members of society.
So why haven't they been delivered so far if they've been promised before?
So I think there's a range of factors. There's been a real lack of investment in prisons. There's overcrowding. And really, there's a lack of access to the support that people need while they're inside. So at Switchback, we provide intensive one-to-one support to people when they're in prison, but crucially, we carry that support on release. But unfortunately, what we see a lot of the time is people being released from prison, often homeless. So around half the young men we support were released without housing in the last year, without a bank account, without an ID, and without a plan or any real support to make the change that more often than not, they really do want to make in their lives. So that's the focus that we really like to see, to make sure that support is in place for people to build a stable life after prison.
Sorry, what does that support actually look like? Very quickly, if you could just outline that for us.
Sure. So I think there's two areas. Firstly, there are some simple things around making sure people have the basic essentials to make to have a real chance. So that means access to housing, a phone, access to finance. But secondly, and really crucially, what that support means is skilled one-to-one support from people who can help those young men and others in prison to address their needs and to look at, what they want to achieve in the future and to introduce some hope, some opportunity and support to build that stable life after prison.
So what's the biggest challenge? Because obviously we're hearing a lot about drugs at the moment, and the use of drugs, we understand, has gone up whilst in prison. Do you find when you talk to the young men that you help, they enter prison already addicted or they become addicted in prison?
It's a combination. So often lots of the challenges that the young men we work with in prison are facing are long-standing issues, but then often they're exacerbated by the experience of prison. So lots of the young men we're working with at the moment are often spending 23 hours a day locked up in their cell. So I think while the focus on reducing drug use and availability in prison is important, we also have to look at addressing why people are turning to drugs and the role of being locked up in cramped cells for so long and not having the support, the opportunities, and really the hope for the future we need to instill in people to make sure that they have a real chance of becoming active members of society on release, which will reduce the reoffending and reduce the crime that we all want to see.